And we welcome all of you to our meeting tonight. And at this time, we will have a moment of silence. And I ask that we please remember one of our students that died in a car accident, the Schuler family. So let's remember that family, please. Moment of silence. And at this time, we're going to have our Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand with us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
I so move.
It has been moved and properly second that we approve our agenda for tonight. Are there any questions, comments? If not, all in favor, let it be known by a show of hand. Thank you, unanimous. Next, we will have the approval of the minutes from the November 27th, 2018 meeting.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for November 22nd, 2018. 27, correction.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the minutes from November 27th, 2018 be approved. All in favor, let it be known by a show of hand. Are there any questions? Thank you. Oh, thank you, ma'am.
I was reading over the minutes, and I do see on there where Dr. Tiffany made mention that I asked about the board members that were going to the conference. But I said that also that our rooms are already previously scheduled, but they were canceled, and that wasn't in here, according to the minutes.
So we need to amend the minutes to include in what Ms. Vermeil has said, that the rooms were canceled and it was not in our minutes. So I will entertain a motion to amend the minutes to include the statement from Ms. Vermeil.
I move that we amend the statement that the rooms that Ms. Goodwin had, that they were canceled.
Any other comments or discussion on that? If not, all in favor for the amending the minutes to include the statement from Ms. Vermeil pertaining to the rooms being canceled, let it be known by a show of hand. Opposes? Thank you. We have Representative Jerry Govan here, and I think he has some comments that he would like to make at this time. Representative Govan.
Madam Chairlady, I will certainly try to adhere to that. First of all, on behalf of the Orangeburg County Legislative Delegation, let me just again congratulate you all in terms of your selection as board members of the newly consolidated board for Orangeburg County. These are indeed challenging but exciting times, and certainly a very great opportunity for us to do great things. Ranking member of the House Education Committee and a member of the National Educational Committee for the National Conference of State Legislators, and some special ad hoc committees that I serve on with that body, that based on what I've seen in those capacities, there are some very exciting things going on around the country. And so certainly as you take in information from the Transition Committee, from the School Boards Association, who's represented by Mr. Scott Price here tonight, and from the other entities that have been providing y'all with information, I just encourage you to certainly be like a sponge, absorb it all in, because you do have a challenge before you as we move into a new millennium when it comes to education, not only here in Orangeburg County, but also in South Carolina, but more importantly, in these United States of America, where we are seeing that our competitive advantage beginning to slip in the area of education. And so what you will be receiving from me, also a part of congratulations, is a copy of a national report that NCSL completed. It took about 4 years, in which they went all around the world to look at various educational systems. It's called No Time to Lose, to talk about some things about what's going on educationally in the state. And for those who did not get a chance to attend, I will tell you that the South Carolina House, based on our meeting last week when we reorganized, the Speaker has announced on the House side that education will be a top priority, and of course, the Senate is already moving, so there are already changes afoot, particularly when it comes to teacher recruitment and retention, which is a big problem in the state of South Carolina. 7 things: build an inclusive team and set priorities, study and learn from top performers, create a shared vision, benchmark policies, get started on One Piece, work through messiness, and there are going to be challenges for that, and finally, invest the time. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to share a few things with you, and anything that I can do in my capacity as a senior and ranking member of the House Education Committee and a member of the body, please do not hesitate to let me know. Thank you.
And at this time, we are ready for the Orangeburg Consolidated Transition Committee report. Mr. Donnie Hilliard.
Now, everyone have a copy of the report from the Consolidated Transition Committee school activity for the past 7 months. And I will share with you that the Transition Committee, as well as they would like to say, we finished with y'all, we open ourselves up to you for the next duration. Tab 1 is first of all, before we get to tab, my wonderful little introductory memo is up front to the legislative delegation and the trustee board. But in our memo up front, right behind it is a memo where we sent to the legislative delegation indicating an operating budget for the trustee board. There's only one thing I want to say on that item is that once all of the funds have been designated for the school board operation, I would strongly recommend that you identify a fiscal officer to work with you, and from that point forward, we did not discuss it, but I think the procurement policies and all of the state policies as pertain to acquiring services and goods apply to this trustee board at this time. And if you utilize the fiscal agent from one of the school districts, I'm sure that they will abide by that policy with their procedures, and you will have to be the one to authorize those disbursements. Item tab number 2 is the budget. This budget was put together as a guide and a recommendation to this board for them to develop a budget for the new school district starting July 1, 2019. According to the legislations that will be listed in the very back of the document, it asked us as the trustee board to put together a budget reflecting the budget year of 2018. We looked at 2018, as I explained to the delegation last night, but we were not able to comply with the requirements of maintaining the same taxing level in 2018 as they had required in the legislation. So in order to fulfill that component, we went to 2017 budget year. So your 2017 budget year will be the year, or base year, what we would call it, for setting a budget. That will maintain the same taxing level with that strong possibility you may end up having to do the 2 meal increase that was authorized in the legislation, because equalization may require that. As explained to the delegation, I'm trying to repeat what I shared with them. We was able to realize a tax saving in the debt service component of the school operation, but we were not able to maintain a level funding in the general operation component. The savings that we realized in the debt service will be utilized to fund the equalization. And by that, equalization means that the salaries from one district to the other had to be made compatible, and we did the best we could with that. As you look through it, you will probably see, well, we was too strongly here, or too generous here, or didn't fund properly here. Well, at least we give you a guide to go with. But there's one component in the budget that we do not deal with. It will be something that you will have to work with from time to time, is the support service staff. We could not identify the exact parallel of compatibility of work with them, so therefore those salaries was not made an adjustment. So specifically in the teacher's aide, school bus drivers area. Other than that, the budget is enough to give you funding to meet this level that's required by the state, federal rules and regulations. But it will require a little bit of study. So when you get there, Mr. Young and his subcommittee, along with the bean counter, will be glad to work with you on putting together those components. Item 3 is the section where we list what we call assessment and inventory. For the lack of another subject matter, assessment means nothing more than going out and review, but we're trying to capture all of the inventory, all of the property and fixed assets within the various school districts. So I would strongly recommend that you have the new attorney look into that and try to bring all of the properties into the current school district name, because we had some problems identifying certain properties because we didn't know that school district still exists. But I'm sure that was an oversight, so we brought that to your attention so you can see. There were some contracts addressed and listed there. Those contracts are ongoing, but they don't have no more than a year's worth of life left to them, but they still have to be dealt with starting in July. And I'm sure a lot of it will be a continuation. They mostly are dealing with food services. And the reason why we are recommending that it be carried on, because the food services is one of the components that will have to be made available throughout, and it was already in place. Section 4, special needs and accommodation. This is a subject that was specifically addressed in the legislation, and we made all our efforts to make sure that we comply with the legislation and give you the items that was required within state and federal law. And this committee did a wonderful job. And seriously, it was one that was everyone concerned about, but it seemed to be the one that seemed to be fit better from the 3 districts than any other thing we did. Everything else was helter-skelter, but this component, as it relates to the 3 districts, this fit almost like a glove. So that one is pretty succinct, and the chairperson that I was told tonight, without him being notified, is Dr. O'Quinn. Item 5 is the legislation. For those members that didn't get a chance to read through the legislation, you will have fun reading it now, but the delegation explained to me on last night, for those that are on the Solidarity Committee with us, is that it was a test for the state of South Carolina, because I fussed at them because the legislators did not give us any leeway or any jurisdiction or any authority in doing anything. We were just out there. And he said that was programmed and that was planned. And he said that you passed because you're where you are now. You got a report. And see if we could navigate our way through the various rules or regulation laws and get a product done. They need to give that committee of the future staffing. We did not have staffing, so we had to work with the current staff from various districts to the point where we had to postpone and share things back and forth, and most of it rests on me, so I have to buy a lot of Christmas gifts because I had to use my staff to get a lot of things done. The school districts work wonderfully with us. They share to give us our staff. That spirit of collaboration and coordination was wonderfully done, and I think you will have those same folks, because they're not in the district office, they're in the classrooms, and various organizations that work with us that share with you how things can be done. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard, for that report. And we want to thank the Transition Committee for the hard work that you put into this. There are no other comments from Mr. Hilliard. We are now down to executive session. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for personnel matter, interim superintendent, personnel matter, administrative assistant, and finance director position.
I move that we go to executive session to discuss personnel matters as interim superintendent, personnel matters, administrative assistants, and finance director position.
It has been moved and properly second that we enter into executive session for the personnel manager, interim superintendent, administrative assistant, and finance director. All in favor of the said motion, let it be known by a show of hands. Are there any opposers? Thank you, unanimous. At this time, I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
Madam Chair, I move that we return to open session.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we come out of executive session. All in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Any opposers? Thank you.
There were no action taken on personnel matter with an interim superintendent, also with administrative assistant. And we move to a point that Orangeburg 5 will be our fiscal authority.
Do we get a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion coming from Ms. Idella Carson that Orangeburg Consolidated District 5 be our fiscal district? Yes, ma'am.
I think for clarification, we need to make note of that, so when it goes out in the newspaper, that they are the physical authority so far as to write the check so that we can operate. There is no hiring of a certain position, because the first thing, we don't want anyone confused when they see that in the newspaper.
Exactly right. Is that clear? And we are not hiring a person. Orangeburg Consolidated District 5 will be the person to write the checks for Orangeburg County School Board to operate. Is that clear? Any other discussion? All in favor of Orangeburg Consolidated District 5 being the agent that will write the checks when we need to operating funds? If not, all in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Any opposers? Thank you, unanimous. Timeline for the superintendent search.
I want to thank you for allowing us to meet with you tonight. I know that this is a time-sensitive matter. If you were going to open up the district July 1. So what we are recommending is to try to start the search right after the first of the year. And again, it's your search. If you want to, we can change the dates, whatever's. We would also like to recommend, since you are merging 3 districts and 3 communities, that you consider doing focus groups. And what I would recommend is just 3 nights in a row, 1 night, meet at the Orangeburg 3 district office, 1 night Orangeburg 4, 1 night Orangeburg 5. And we would need to, advertise it. It's open to principals, district office staff, teachers, parents, community members, anyone who wants to give their input. And what you're asking them to give is their thoughts and ideas of characteristics and qualities that the board needs to look at for the superintendent for your district. But again, it's your search. If you feel that we need to extend it anywhere, start a little later, we leave that up to you. And again, we would need to check calendars. I know, want to make sure there aren't any performances in schools or sports activities that would interfere with focus groups or anything else, so.
Pertaining to the timeline. Are there any other questions or comments or anything to come before the board at this time? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn, and we want to thank you for coming.